Hey everybody, welcome to another episode, and tonight we're going to talk about two of the most popular dog breeds in the world. We're going to talk about the Labrador Retriever and the Golden Retriever. We're going to compare these two dog breeds. We're going to talk about all the things that make them similar. So similar, in fact, that some people mistake them in some very embarrassing ways. Like professionals mistake them. And we're also going to talk about a few differences that you might need to be aware of if you're considering or trying to decide between a Labrador or a Golden. So you'll want to make sure and you watch to the end when we get to the differences. But before we get to the video and the nitty-gritty on the differences and the similarities, don't be the only game working at a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. Make sure that you've subscribed and hit the little notification bell so that you get an alert every time we send out one of these videos. Okay, to begin with, I think I want to go through this list really quickly. If you're interested in a more full-length video on the specifics about Labradors or Golden Retrievers, just them as a breed, make sure you check those videos out. If they're not out already when this video posts, they will be shortly after that. I'll put a link to them right up here as soon as those go live. And but for this, I want to just kind of briefly hit three similarities and two really major significant differences that could make or break your decision to get a Labrador or a Golden Retriever. So, first similarity is the fact that they are working dogs. Both of these dogs have been bred, these breeds have been bred over the generations to go out in the field and run all day long. They're high energy, they require a lot of exercise. Labradors and Golden Retrievers that don't get enough exercise often resort to some nuisance behaviors that will drive you nuts. Barking, chewing on things, digging, whining. Sometimes the Golden Retrievers can take this to a special level, levels that I've never seen. I personally have never seen a Labrador get to, but I know that Golden Retrievers can get to the point and develop some pretty serious anxiety if they're not getting enough exercise time with you. So this is where a big backyard, long hikes, if you're a jogger, the Labrador Retriever and the Golden Retriever are excellent breeds because of this breeding that's been specifically aimed at an athletic endurance type bird hunter. They're meant to run the fields or swim the marshes all day long. That's going to be a very similar with both of them. They're going to both need about the same amount of exercise. There's not one that's better suited or worse suited. Is that even? I don't even know if that's a word. There's not one that's better or worse for apartment living. They're both going to need to be well exercised, regularly getting out and spending time with you, which leads me to the second similarity between these two dogs. Labradors and Golden Retrievers both are incredible family dogs. They're very trainable, and but their personalities are they just seem to be perfect for the family. They're very patient. Typically, there's exceptions to every breed. I know that, but typically speaking, stereotypically speaking about these two breeds, they're very patient with young little kids. If you're really good and firm with the training, they can be trained to be patient and to be gentle around others. Both of these dogs, because of their personalities and their trainability, are excellent service dogs. So you'll see them often working in service fields such as seeing eye dogs for the blind, the field for service dogs in the area of autism and the autism spectrum. That's becoming more and more popular. It's incredible what these dogs are able to do for people that are on the autism spectrum, and both of these dogs, you see them quite often being used as therapy, service, or I just forgot what the other word. There's three categories, and Golden Retrievers and Labradors are used for all three of them. It'll come back to me as soon as we move on to another topic. But And then kind of as a side note to this, as far as being trainable, both dogs are very, very trainable, but actually for different reasons. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that difference later on. But both dogs are very trainable and are excellent first dogs. If you're a first-time dog owner, a Golden Retriever or a Labrador Retriever, both are excellent choices if you're trying to figure out the world of dog training. If you are trying to figure out the world of dog training, please check out our dog focused training packages. I don't hesitate to say that for what's out there and available online, not only are they the best value, but I also think that they are the best fine-tuned dog training package that you're going to find online. So if you're looking for help figuring out how to bring a new dog into your home and get it adapted, whether that's a service dog or a puppy, make sure you check out our dog focused training packages down below. I'll put all the links down there and you can check those out. All right, similarity number 3, and this is critical. If you're a person who's a clean freak and you like to have your home nice and tidy and everything in its proper place, and you like everything to be clean all the time, these dogs can be a challenge if you're going to keep them indoors because they shed like monsters. Now, you'll read on the internet that these dogs only blow out their coats, that they shed twice a year. That can be a little bit misleading because they blow their coats out twice a year, usually in the fall and in the spring as they're getting their coats. They're getting a summer coat and they're getting a winter coat. Their coats both insulate them and keep them warm in the winter, and then also insulate them and keep them cool in the summer. So side note, if you do decide to get a Golden Retriever, never ever shave your Golden Retriever's coat. It will just mess things up. So don't do that. But both of these dogs are going to shed. Yes, they'll blow their coats out twice a year. That's when you're going to see massive clumps of hair coming off, and it just seems like it never stops. Having said that, it's also significant it's also important to understand that it's not like you just have a 2-week period of time that you need to, manage your dog's grooming a little bit better. These dogs are going to shed all year long. They constantly shed. Even in the dead of winter, when you're thinking like they need to keep, they're preserving all of their hair to stay warm, and they're always going to shed. And so both dogs are going to require a certain amount of grooming. Having said that, though, that leads me into one of the first differences we want to talk about, and that's the differences in their coats. A Labrador has a more coarse, short hair. It lays close to their body, and because of it's a little bit more dense. When a Labrador sheds, their hair falls to the ground, and because it's a shorter hair and it's so coarse and sticks close to their body, grooming and taking care of a Labrador is monumentally easy. Basically, the only time you have to bathe and brush out a Labrador is if they roll in something stinky, which happens more often than you might think, or when in those 2 times a year when they're blowing out their coat and you're trying to kind of minimize the shedding that gets into your house. Other than that, you just don't. There's not a lot of grooming required with a Labrador, and so I think Labs are one of the easiest dogs to take care of grooming wise, because there's no real need to brush them out every single day. On the flip side of that, Golden Retriever's hair they've got a little bit longer hair. The hair is lighter, it's airier, it's less dense, it weighs less. I don't know what it is exactly, but the right term for it, but basically their hair will float and get up into the air. And while a Labrador's coat, when they shed, most of it falls to the ground, a Golden Retriever's hair kind of gets up into the wind currents or the ventilation currents of your house, and you can get hair on your countertops. You can get it in your clothes that are hanging up. You can get it up into your food. You'll find dog hair everywhere if you get a Golden Retriever, and that's just it's kind of the consequence of that longer, lighter hair. The other thing you got to know when you take your dog out for a hike or a run or whatever, and you've been out, you need to be a little bit more careful with a Golden Retriever because it's more likely that they're going to get sticks or burrs or any kind of impediments. You can get way more likely if you're out in the winter like it is right now and they're running around. With that longer hair, it's not uncommon to get clumps of ice and snow built up around their feet. You're going to have to be more vigilant in checking your dog's coat, brushing them out after they've been out in the woods running around, just to make sure that those kinds of things aren't up underneath and inside of that longer hair hiding, that are going to cause your dog some irritation later on. So grooming, when it comes to grooming, I definitely think that the Labrador wins on that, because they are just so much easier to take care of, and because while they do shed, their shedding seems to be a little bit easier to contain for me, just because it typically all falls to the ground. So that's the first difference, and I think in that difference, I do think the Labradors get a little bit of a nod over the Golden Retriever. The second difference I wanted to talk about is health differences. Now, when it comes to the health of these big dogs, both breeds are going to be prone to hip dysplasia or elbow dysplasia. That's when the joint either doesn't form right from the beginning or becomes malformed with wear. It's an extremely painful disease, and it is unbearable to watch your pet and your friend go through that kind of experience. My sister's family went through that with Tucker, they just had this big grizzly bear of a black Labrador, who they had to have him put down way, way too early because of this terrible disease. Both of these dogs are prone to it. It has been my experience that I've seen more Labradors with it than Golden Retrievers, and that may have to do with body types. English Labradors or show Labradors have a tendency to be a little bit heavier, and that heavier weight on those joints, especially working dogs that are getting out and running, it may lead to, this is just my supposition, I don't have any science to back this up, but it does seem like Labradors are more prone to hip dysplasia and other joint problems, and so that being the case, I think, one of the differences is Labradors can be about 15 to 20 and sometimes 30 pounds heavier than a Golden Retriever. I'm guessing that weight might have something to do with that. The other thing, when it comes to, on the flip side of that, when it comes to health, Golden Retrievers, not only compared to Labradors, but compared to all other breeds, Golden Retrievers have a tendency or are prone to cancer. And it's unbelievable, the difference. And I can't remember exactly what the numbers are. I'll try and find those and I'll put a graph up. But it's nearly double the rate of cancer in Golden Retrievers as compared to Labrador Retrievers. And so when it comes to the differences in health, both breeds can be prone to eye problems later on in life. Some of those can be repaired surgically. Some of those just can't be. So when it comes to the health and the differences in the health, it's kind of a pick your poison. Both of them have their problems. I think it's kind of a wash. The other difference I wanted to talk about is they're in the trainability. I mentioned earlier that both of them are trainable. The Labrador, in comparison to the Golden Retriever, the Labrador Retriever has this incredible desire to please their owner or their trainer or their handler. It's really, you can just see it in the dog. After you've spent some time with a Labrador and they've gotten a little bit older, they're 5 or 6 months old, 7 months old, and they've started to understand the process of training. They're almost like a child who does something, they do some kind of an art project and then they show it to mom and dad. Yes, they're proud of their art, but what they're really looking for is that approval from mom and dad. That is totally a Labrador thing. Like, that's Labradors. They'll go out and they'll fetch and they'll come back and they're thrilled and they're excited about the retrieving process, but they're even more thrilled about making you happy. And so you can take that plays into your hands as a trainer, because it just helps move the process along. They're so eager to please you that even if you're not the very best trainer in the world, a Labrador Retriever's desire to make you happy is going to help you kind of move through the learning curve. Whereas some other dogs that are a little more stingy or a little more isolationist or loners, you're gonna have to be a much better trainer to get their attention and keep them on point. Golden Retrievers, on the other hand, they don't necessarily have that huge drive to please. They do have great, they build great relationships. Like I said, both of these breeds are excellent family dogs and great companions. The Golden Retrievers benefit, and what really makes them an incredibly easy dog to train, is they're super intelligent. They're just very, very smart dogs, and so they figure things out much quicker.
Do you think I could get it?
I'm so sorry about this. It's my assistant that makes all the reservations. She's been under heavy medication. She was recently diagnosed with parvo.
Well, isn't that a dog's disease?
Yes, it is. My assistant is a golden retriever. Adorable, but dim. Her whole keyboard is just 3 big buttons. She has very large paws. I should have fired her years ago, but she's a rescue, and I just didn't have the heart.
That intelligence is going to kind of help you move through that learning curve of training dogs as well. And so while they're both very trainable, they're trainable for different reasons. So I think that's important. Just a couple other similarities that you ought to know. Both dogs are going to love to play catch. They're retrievers by both name and behavior or personality. They're going to almost from birth come with a drive to chase things down and bring it back. And it's not very hard to teach them how to retrieve and to play catch or fetch. Which makes it become one of the easiest ways to get them exercised and to wear them down and to get them feeling really good about where they're at. The other similarity, just things that they typically love and like to do, both of these breeds are very comfortable in the water, especially if you do a good job of socializing them early on. You're going to find that both Labrador Retrievers and Golden Retrievers, especially in the summer, are going to love to spend time in the water. My dad had a Golden Retriever that you would open the door, and he lived, I don't know, maybe 100, maybe 200 yards. I can't remember. Dad, maybe you'll leave a comment down below. This will be a test to see if you're actually watching my videos, Dad. But maybe 200 yards from a canal, and he would open the door, and his Golden Retriever, I mean, she was gone. It was a rocket out the door up to the canal, and she'd go down and swim, and she'd come back soaking wet. Same thing. I've got my Labrador right now, Odin. We were camping this last summer. In fact, if you've seen my video on training a dog how to kayak, it was that camping trip. We were camping less than 100 yards from the beach. It was an awesome sight. But I had Odin, and when he would be in his crate, when I would let him out first thing in the morning, it was like you had shot a gun, and he was off to the water to just go swimming, and they love to retrieve in the water, to just be around the water. So if you live in warm areas, it is a great way to keep them cool. All right, everybody, so there's our video on Labradors versus Golden Retrievers. If you've got any questions about these two breeds and how they compare one to another, please leave those questions down below. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button. It's awesome. I check every day to see how many new subscribers we've gotten. It's fun to watch that number grow and grow and grow as we get a little bit bigger. If you have any idea what movie I was quoting at the beginning of this video, please leave that in the comments down below as well. I'll give you a hint. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the greatest TV series episodes, or I guess TV series of all time. So you're going to be seeing some more of. I'm going to be quoting more of that as we go throughout the upcoming videos. So keep a lookout for those, and I will see you. I'll see you in the next video.